The floor and vote in favour of this.
Time's expired.
Mr. Speaker.
Louise Upson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise and offer a contribution in the debate on the oaths and declarations upholding the Treaty of Waitangi Amendment Bill in this first reading. And I want to start, Mr. Speaker, by acknowledging my parliamentary colleague, Te Ururoa Flavel, for bringing this bill to the House. Earlier today, he successfully, unanimously actually, had a bill passed in this House. So I do want to acknowledge his efforts. I do want to say, though, Mr. Speaker, one of the reasons that National won't be supporting the bill today is that I believe in this instance the Māori Party have the cart before the horse. And I want to explain that because there's been a conversation tonight about this being about national identity. Well, the appropriate place for a conversation around national identity is to be had with each and every New Zealander. And that's a conversation we are having as a result of the partnership with the Māori Party with the constitutional review. And the place of the Treaty of Waitangi is a key part of the constitutional review. So I think it's appropriate, Mr. Speaker, that we don't jump ahead too quickly in this instance. And I know that this idea seems like a simple idea, a simple fix to a problem, but actually it's a much broader conversation around our national identity, around the place of the Treaty of Waitangi in our overall constitution. And that isn't something that should be rushed. I recently spoke in Australia, jointly presented with Charles Cheval, on the constitutional review that we are undertaking. And it is so important that New Zealanders engage in this conversation and we do it properly and we do it fully. So the aspect of the Constitution is the first sort of area of where this bill creates some problems. And I am somewhat frustrated, Mr. Speaker, at the suggestion that the National Party choosing not to support this bill indicates a wider issue in terms of our commitment. And for anyone who has heard the speeches in this House from members all across the chamber, but in particular from the National Party, in the commitment we have in settling treaty settlements, I think that that's quite an unfair comment. We are progressing settlements because we know it is the hurt and the injustice and the disagreements of the past that continue to divide this nation. So we are the party that is driving ahead at a pace to get those treaty settlements resolved. Because, Mr. Speaker, I very firmly believe that it is the most significant thing we can do as a country to bring us to the place of unity. So some of my colleagues have spoken about challenges and the fact that we have more progress to make. Well, our priority should be on treaty settlements. Our priority, Mr. Flavel, should be on the constitutional review. It should be engaging each and every New Zealander in this conversation. And although the idea seems like a good one, I think the impacts of it there are some other complications. And I wanted to raise, Mr. Speaker, a couple of them. One, of course, is the issue of consistency. The bill talks about oaths and declarations of some types, but hasn't actually explained each opportunity that an oath is taken in New Zealand. So, for example, in the Citizenship Act, is it expected through this bill that also new citizens would take an oath to the Treaty of Waitangi? What about the Ombudsman Act? So there is an issue of inconsistency with the bill as it's drafted. And the member, Te Ururoa Flavel, who's brought this bill to the House, quite rightly has said that it's optional. But the fact, Mr. Speaker, that it is optional creates other complications. Because what does that mean if somebody takes an oath to the Treaty of Waitangi and someone doesn't, and yet they are doing the same job? So the inconsistency of it potentially creates some other problems where someone holding the same office has made one oath and another hasn't. So you're getting an inconsistency in the same people holding office. So, Mr. Speaker, the spirit of the bill I applaud, and I commend the member for bringing it to the House. but actually the commitment is having a much broader conversation about the national identity and the treaty's place in the Constitution. Mr Speaker, thank you.
Catherine Delahunt.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Tēnā koutou katoa.